we've titled this session of Pursuit talks about realizing your potential. And just as we need role models in our adolescence to help give us something to, we can't be what we can't see, is a line I'm going to steal and use a lot now. We need it at work as well. I think we understand the role of leadership. We've all had the boss who excites us and empowers us and makes us feel like anything is possible. I think we've all had the work environment where we feel that way. Hopefully few of us have had the opposite example, but I'm pleased to introduce from PA Consulting, Hsiu Mei, who's going to come up and talk about how to realize our potential through a better way of leadership.
Good afternoon, and thanks for being here. My name is Hsiu Mei Wong, and I work with companies who are absolutely passionate about changing the world. And I'm here to talk to you today about creating a new kind of leadership for a new kind of organization, one that is made up of resourceful, imaginative, and purposeful people who will be the keys to long-term success. And from what I've seen in industry, and also from what I've heard on stage from people like Esther and over the last couple of days, this new form of leadership isn't an option. It's not an option at all. It's an absolute obligation. And every single one of you here needs to be part of that narrative. But before I do, I'd like to share a little story about my son, Oliver. Now, Oliver would like to be a doctor train driver. Not a doctor, not a train driver, but actually both of them combined. And you know what? Why not? The other night, I was reading him a story, a bedtime story, about a boy who had an imaginary dragon as a friend. Now, as this boy grew older, his dragon friend retreated into his cave. And he asked me why they couldn't have adventures and play anymore. And I said to him, Ollie, the boy had to grow up. He held that thought in his head for a little while, and you can actually see the wheels turning in his mind. And he looked at me, and then he declared, Mommy, that boy should grow down. Now let's have a quick show of hands. How many of you wish you could grow down? Yep, I figured so. So here's the thing. When we grow down, everything is possible, isn't it? Nobody can tell Oliver that he can't be a doctor train driver. The world is our oyster. There are no limits, and opportunity is everywhere. But when we enter the world of work, something happens, right? We start to grow up. We begin to feel like we've sacrificed our imagination for the demands of the boardroom or the balance sheet. We begin to see the world actually as it is, as opposed to as it could be. And why? It's because too many of today's leaders are overly focused on targets and tasks, and therefore they create organizations that actually steer us towards conformity. And then we compromise. And ultimately that becomes compromising. But here's the thing, I don't think it has to be that way. I think that there is a new way to lead. If you look at the Fortune 500, about 85% of the companies that sat on that list 50 years ago no longer exist. They're not on that list anymore. Now that rate of change probably cycles through in about 15 years now. So you've got to ask yourself, what happened to these once great companies? I think they got stuck. They forgot that the world moved on. So as leaders, we need to recognize that the world will keep changing. And in today's world, and you've probably heard this in some of the talks at HubWeek over the last couple of days, there are four forces that actually impact us all. We can either resist these forces or we can actually go with it. The choice is ours. And for the leaders in this room who actually embrace these forces, it creates an incredible tailwind to innovate. Let's have a look at them together. Force number one, social impact. Just think about the last decade. We've seen a huge amount of societal change. values are being reframed, companies are being completely reimagined, and really, really powerful questions are being asked. And just to quote Greta Thunberg, how dare you? We all want authenticity, so we vote with our wallets and with a swipe of our fingertips, and that can be really destabilizing for leaders. It's purpose-led agendas that are driving companies today as much as profits did in the past. People are looking for purpose, and they choose products and services that fit with that. They choose companies to join that fit with it, and that creates opportunities for leaders. Now, force number 2, the changing nature of transparency and trust. Different lenses now apply to, when we think about who we trust. In the past, we trusted banks because they were big and old and solid. In today's, and we also trusted the food that we ate and the medicines that we took because of the brand names that stood behind them. Today, what is it? 3 stars that make it okay to get into a car with a complete stranger. Yeah? In today's world, you gain trust one consumer at a time, and you can shift markets with just one bad review. Yeah. Finding new ways to create transparency and actually build trust with consumers is an opportunity to innovate. When you think about the third force, finding the balance between difference and conformity. Our modern economies today is built on the assumption that conformity can drive growth. Right? To scale big, we need patterns and order. Cut, paste, rinse, repeat. But we all know that that's not how the world works today. Not anymore. Getting the right balance between difference and conformity can actually power innovation. And that drives opportunity. And force number 4, the last force that's changing the world, is technology. And how do we harness it for everyone? Technology raises the stakes. There's always a new device, a new app, another app update. There's always AI, ML, NLP, AR, VR. There's a whole entire alphabet soup of acronyms. But here's the thing. Technology is a collaborative force, not a combative one. It's not about what we do with technology, right? And it's not about what technology makes possible. It's actually about what we use and do with technology. And this creates opportunity. So what I've just gone through are some of the 4 forces that are shaping our world today. Individually, these 4 forces are really powerful, but when you take them all in combination, it's an incredible opportunity to innovate. Here's the problem. The inconvenient truth is that this leaves quite a few leaders completely and utterly mesmerized, if not paralyzed. But what I want to tell you is that there is a beautiful path ahead of us. Let me give you my example. I've got one of the best, greatest, funnest jobs in the world. I really do. That's because every day I've got the freedom to dream, to explore, and to create, to be ingenious, just like my 5-year-old son. In the process, I get to work with absolutely incredible people to do incredible things that change the world for the better. You see, at PA, we believe in the power of ingenuity to build a positive human future in a technology-driven world. Now, ingenuity, that incredible ingenuity actually means working with WaterSource to provide reliable drinking water to tens of thousands of people by using the Internet of Things and advanced analytics to predict problems before they actually even occur. Ingenuity also means working with, exploring new ways of learning with nurses. We've been working with the Emergency Nurses Association to apply digital technologies so that we can help nurses improve the level of care. And ingenuity means reducing the level of harm to our environment. We're working with Lollyware to make straws out of seaweed Yep, out of seaweed, to reduce the reliance and use of single-use plastics. Now, whether it's access to clean water or improving healthcare or protecting the environment, I actually believe we have to create businesses for societal good, right, and make a difference there. And these ingenious solutions have to come together at a pace that we've never actually ever seen before. And this requires bold, focused leadership from every single person in this room. This is why I want to share with you some of the things that the new leader is doing. New leaders in our business, new leaders in our community, new leaders everywhere. First, the new leader is nurturing optimism. Now, optimism releases serotonin. It creates neural pathways that stimulate creative thinking. People don't want to be led by fear and blame. They want to be inspired, right? So the new way to lead is to be always in pursuit of the optimist. Now, that's not about wearing a smile in the morning. It's about seeing constraints as a catalyst for creativity. It's about believing that every single thing has a solution out there that we can find. And optimistic leaders are the ones who are best prepared to be able to unlock human ingenuity. And they're the things that will change the world. Second, we know that it's really important to empower teams. So we let them go out and conquer. But for teams to stay fresh and innovative, the new leader needs to encourage just a little bit of dissonance. Get the right people in the room just like this, and frankly, mix things up. Encourage a variety of skills, a variety of experiences and viewpoints. And when you bring that together, that's when you actually unlock uncommon breakthroughs. Diversity will be our strength, and that's the spark for more innovative ideas. Third, we got to stop doing this. We've got to stop building organizations to last, and we've got to start building organizations to actually adapt. As a leader, we can't rely on yesterday's playbook. We've actually got to build organizations that are responsive and agile. They've got to experiment and learn. They've got to take ideas to launch in warp speed. To unlock ingenuity, it's not about building a flat or a fat or a skinny organization. It's actually about building an organization that is dynamic and evolving. And that's what's important. And that's where the opportunity is. And fourth, the new leader will seek inspiration from the widest possible sources. So each one of you should bake into your words, imagine, find, seek, explore. Ask, what if, 10,000 times a day? What if you took ideas from the arts and took them into healthcare or science or technology or even the government? What could you do with that? The point is, we've got to look beyond the traditional four walls of any kind of organization and really believe in the immense power of not just invented here. The new leader is going to challenge their teams and themselves to hunt around far and wide, high and low for inspiration. So, today, we live in a new era. There are four forces that are impacting the world and changing it, and therefore we need a new way to lead. The future leader is curious. They've grown down, and they see the world through the eyes of a 5-year-old. They inspire innovation, they demand excellence, and I believe there has never, ever been a more important time for leaders to be the nurturer of optimism, the champion of differences in teams, the builder of adaptable organizations, and the seeker of inspiration. Now that is the new way to lead. Thank you for listening.